Welcome, Meredith Johns from Hawgfly Productions, and also I'm sure you do a lot of freelance things as well.
I
Tell us,
do.
tell us a little about yourself, and also you know, uh, you you're a pretty big deal. I was looking at your IMDb. There's a lot of work there. So kind of tell us maybe how you got started, how long you've been in the position, how how how'd you get started? How long you been doing this? Maybe some of the stuff you've worked on, and I'll let you go.
Sure. Well, I've been doing it for 17 years. I was a descriptive. I actually have a degree in advertising and a minor in Japanese, and was a graphic designer for. I think I lasted about 6 months before I realized I was not meant to be sitting behind a computer. I volunteered on a zombie movie and met my business partner on that film, and we were the first two there every single day. Didn't matter if we were 30 minutes early, didn't matter if we were like 10 minutes early, didn't matter if we were like, sitting in our cars and then just right on time. We were still the first two people there. And the two of us would sit on the curb just talking about how much we loved what we were doing and how it was such a cool thing to work on this film. And then we decided, well, screw it, let's start our own effects company. And after 3 hours of convincing ourselves that it was a horrible idea, we failed at that and ended up starting Hawgfly in 2004. And essentially, it's kind of went from there. I grew up painting and sculpting and airbrushing, so I have a background in art just because my family is a family of artists. So a lot of that came a little bit more naturally to me than to most people, I would assume. But I've worked in film and commercial and print and TV, and I do all kinds of crazy things. I did all the Rodriguez films, in the past like 15, 14 years or so. I did Machete and Machete Kills. We can probably do a walking tour of the shop with my iPad if we want. That's the reason I figured it'd be more fun to do it here because my house is, it's a house, it's boring. My shop has body parts. But yeah, that's kind of a little bit about me. My IMDb, like you said, I've probably done, I don't even know how many films, at least 100. I don't even know. And I kind of try and do whatever I can. And as long as I'm creating things and doing art, I don't care what it is. It's fun.
That's awesome. I noticed you're wearing an IATSE shirt there. Uh,
Actually, I didn't do that intentionally, but yes, I am.
that is for those of you kids. That's the Stagehands International Stagehands Union. So if you ever work in the theater, you'll want to join those people.
Yeah,
Um,
I've been a union member since 2005. I'm in the 484, which is actually the film and TV union. So there's the Stagehands Theater Union, which I forget what their number is. They're a sister union of the 484, which is the film and television one, and commercials, moving images, as opposed to theater. So.
so tell us, what does a typical workday look like for you? Maybe when you're working on a film, or maybe a television show, or when you're not.
Um, there's nothing typical about my job, honestly. Every day is something different, and that's kind of what I miss right now because all the productions, as you can imagine, with the quarantines are all shut down. We've been shut down since March 13th. But before that, pretty much every day was something different, and that's kind of the cool thing about this business. One day I'd be doing a photo shoot with like super glammed up models for like some clothing line, and the next day I'd be slaughtering somebody in a field in the middle of the night with zombies. And it's kind of cool because it's never the same. If you like a regular sleep schedule, this is not the career for you. That's been one of the other weird things to get used to during the quarantine, is not working 12 to 18-hour days on set every day in the middle of nowhere, waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning to go drive to work, and then getting home and sleeping for like 8 hours and then doing it all over again. And you just never know what the next day is going to bring sometimes. And you get to set, and sometimes they're like, oh yeah, I remember how we said we weren't going to do this. Yeah, sorry, surprise, we actually are going to decapitate this guy. Did you bring a head by chance? Things like that happen pretty regularly. The film industry is about the only thing that you can say about the film industry that's regular is that it's irregular. And that's kind of the cool thing about it. It keeps you on your toes.
So you do carry severed heads with you, I hope.
uh, Funny story. I did a job over at Camp Mabry. This was probably, I don't know, like 2006 maybe. And I was doing regular makeup. So just like dirt and just nothing, just super crazy, nothing bloody. It was a really easy day on set. And when you do shoots over on military bases, they check your car. And I wasn't thinking anything of it. And the first couple times I went to set, like day 1 and day 2, they was like, yeah, you're with production, go on through. Day 3, they're like, hey ma'am, we're gonna need to check your car. I was like, all right, whatever. Can you pop your trunk? Sure, no big deal. And this big, I mean, he was huge. He had to have been like 300-pound, muscly military guy comes and he's trying not to laugh and will not make eye contact. And I was like, oh God, what's in my trunk? And he's like, ma'am, I'm not sure you're aware, there is a severed head in your trunk. I just looked at him. Oh God, I promise you, that's Bill. Ooh, sorry. He's like, just go, just go. And I turned, I look in the rearview mirror as I was driving off, and he's just doubled over laughing because nobody expects to find a severed head in your trunk. Bill rolled around the trunk for a good like 6 months, I think, just in case it happened again, just to entertain somebody, I think. So, but yeah, you don't want to get pulled over on your way to work when you're covered in blood and with body parts in the car. It's just entertaining.
So what do you like best about your job? What's the best thing, best day? Like, what are the best things?
The best thing about my job is that it's not the same thing every day. And you're constantly challenged, you're constantly creating. And some people love that. Some people hate it. I love it. I love that I show up to work having a general idea of what's going to happen, but I know I'm going to get faced with challenges that you would never come across in another profession. And I love that I meet new people every day. I love that this is actually making me very wistful from set because we've been away for a while. But it's you're meeting new people every day. You're in different environments. You get to go into places that nobody would ever think to go to. Like I've been on locations that I wouldn't even know how to get back to if you had a gun to my head, that they just find in the middle of, nowhere. And you're in this middle of this beautiful field of wildflowers. And you're like, I don't know where I am. And I did a job in Morocco on this like crazy, like dried up riverbed. Actually, well, it was dried up in a section, but there was like a mountain fed water that came through another section.
This is a lady who does SFX stuff. Look at her studio. She does special effects.
So, we're out in the middle of nowhere. It was like an hour-long ride in a company vehicle from the hotel, and I could not tell you how to get there again, but it was gorgeous. And we go in the backs of restaurants. We get put into places that normal people don't get to go and explore, which is kind of cool. It's just an adventure every day, essentially. Oh, I can't hear you.
Unmute. What's your least favorite thing about your job?
Probably the lack of sleep factor. When we're in production mode, you'll work, a short day is usually a 12-hour day. We tease people with normal 9-to-5 jobs that a 40-hour work week. I remember my first part-time job because often we've gotten to 40 hours in like 2-3 days, which is crazy. And you don't sleep a lot and you're like constantly under pressure, which is kind of cool, but kind of not so cool. And then the other thing is the feast and famine. The thing about this industry, which we're all experiencing right now, is the famine. And when you're in production, you're working, and you're having fun, and you're doing all these amazing things. You're making all this art. And when that film is over, boom, it's over. And then you're unemployed. So you're looking for your next job. Typically, that doesn't happen too often for us because we'll have one project and then we'll be prepping for the next project and we'll be prepping for the next project. So we go back to back to back a lot, or we do multiple projects at the same time with a lot of overlaps. But times like this, with the quarantine shutting down all productions, we don't have any income. So that's kind of scary and that's kind of stressful. So
That would be the least favorite thing.
for
Um,
sure.
so tell us, what type of interests and abilities and skills would help a person to be successful in what you do?
Um, General artistic knowledge is very helpful. My crew is very diverse. We've got people that are regular makeup and hair artists that do that kind of work for productions for us. We have people that are mold makers. We have, which were our fabricators. So we have them do like sculpting and molding and fabrication of like fake weapons and armor and things like that. We have seamstresses. My business partner actually runs our costuming division. And we have people that are just stitchers. That's all they do. Um, I think I think the thing we look for most of the time when we look for people that we're bringing in is, do they have the artist eye? And because I can teach people a skill set, I can teach you how to, like, here's a chunk of clay. How do you turn this into something? I can teach you how to mush it around and shape it and like techniques and things, but I can't teach you to look at it and know that it's right or it's wrong, or know why it doesn't look right. If I have people all the time, well, this is so cool, and I'm like, no, you can see all the edges on the prosthetic, you can do da, 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 da. And it's those detail oriented and those creative mindsets that are very, very viable in our industry. Also color theory is one of the most instrumental things that you will ever come across as a makeup artist or an artist at all, honestly. If you don't know that red and blue make purple, you need to start there. Learn your color wheel, learn how to look at something and pick apart what caused that color. I was very fortunate. My grandma, when I was about 5, would only give me acrylic colors in primary. I didn't realize that was odd until probably I was like 20. And if I wanted purple, I had to make it. And I hated her for it when I was a kid, because my friends would get purple and pink and all kinds of colors, and I wouldn't. And now I can look at something and I can break it down like that and match that color. So that's something that if you're interested in being an artist in any of the art department, special effects makeup, regular makeup, anything creative, learn color theory. So important. Okay.
So, building on that, well, what type of education or training or experience is necessary for being a makeup artist or a fabricator or a costume designer? What do we? I mean, what would you say?
Sure. There are schools you can go to. We have people that work for us that went to the Savini School, run by Tom Savini, or not run by, but started by Tom Savini. And they teach you sculpting and mold making and the different things. The thing about schools, we've got another girl went to Vancouver Film School, kind of a similar setup. The thing about schools is they only show you how to do something once. And in order to be successful in this field, you have to be a go-getter. You have to be able to be self-reliant, and you have to be able to push yourself. Like, anybody can show you how to do something, but if you don't practice, it's just like any skill set. If you're going to become an amazing baseball player, you got to practice playing baseball. You can't just show up and be the most amazing baseball player ever. As an artist, you've got to fail and fall on your face like 15,000 times before you know how to do something right. And school will give you techniques, but it won't give you that stamina, and it won't give you that drive to pursue learning how to make it perfect. And I feel like that's something that school is great, but hard knocks training and just diving in, reading every book you can get your hands on. There's a book by Todd Debrashini that you can get on Amazon. I think it's like $50. A bunch of effects artists from all over the world collaborated and made this amazing book with so many cool techniques and so many neat ideas of things to try. And I learned so much even going through it. You never stop learning. And there's Stan Winston. I'm sure you've heard of him. Well, just an effects artist. He's done a couple things. Stan Winston has an online school where there's a bunch of, again, effects artists from all over the world that have made comprehensive videos on how to do things. And none of this stuff existed when I started doing special effects. I had to learn all this on my own. I didn't go to school for it. And if I had had all these resources, oh my God, I've been here to where I am now. I would have been even further and faster, which is crazy to think about. But the technology that's out, particularly when we're all under quarantine right now, you can watch the Stan Winston videos. You can read the Todd Depricini book. We're about to start doing online courses for sale through Teachable because we can't teach people right now, and we can't train people right now. So that's kind of where we're at even. So yeah, now that you have the time, practice, practice, practice.
Piggybacking on that, has technology changed your job, and what do you see in the future, technology-wise, for the industry that you're in?
Sure. So technology is a big factor. Back probably, I mean, it still comes up in almost every interview I'm ever like been involved in is, oh, are you worried about CG? Yes and no. CG is actually, most of my really good friends on set are CG guys because the VFX guys and the effects makeup people have to work in tandem so often. I can do things that they can't, well, they can do them, but it's going to cost millions of dollars for them to do it. And they can do things I can't do. I can't make somebody's eyeball go away. I can build up stuff on top of the eye, but unless the actor's cool with me gouging it out and removing it, yeah, not going to happen. I can't make things go in. I can't remove noses. I can't remove arms. That's where green screen comes in. That's where VFX comes in. Those guys are awesome. They do really cool things. I can't splatter blood all over a bunch of antique furniture. That's going to get me in trouble. I'm going to get fired. The VFX guys can do that like that. So it's a really interesting relationship there. Other cool technologies that are coming out, 3D printing. 3D printing is a huge deal. People are starting to now 3D print molds, which is really cool. They'll do, it's a big complicated process that I won't even go into, but it's speeding up a lot of things because you can have a 3D printer printing something and you can do something else. So you end up speeding up your process. That's a really big deal. And even like the materials, when I first started here doing this 17 years ago, silicone was a thing, but not a lot was known about it. Like you could use it for mold making, everybody was doing that, but then they were starting to use it for prosthetics. And that was like a huge, like mind-blowing thing. And now we run more silicone prosthetics than anything else because they're super quick, they're super realistic, they feel like skin, they're so cool. And they keep coming out with new silicones and new techniques to make it work and be more seamless on the skin, particularly in the world of HD. Again, technology issue. When HD became a thing on TV and in film, you saw a huge learning curve in makeup in general. Like people were super pancaked makeup and you're like, ooh, because in HD, you see every single pore. And when it goes into the effects makeup world, you see every single pore. Foam latex, which was the prosthetic of choice for years and years and years, and latex in general, you have to be very careful with using it on things that are supposed to look more human because in that HD environment, it looks very flat and it looks very fake. So when you saw shows like CSI, you'd see all the people doing the autopsies and stuff like that, and you'd see all the seams of every single prosthetic and the early learning curve of HD, and you'd be like, yeah, they haven't caught up yet. And so yeah, you got to keep your finger on the pulse of like what's new, what's coming out, and constantly like trying new things and testing new things out because you're going to miss something and you're going to get stuck behind. So technology is huge.
Awesome. So, and in that, how do you use like math or science, your English skills, your history skills? How do you use those in your job every day?
Pretty much every single day. English, if I sound like an idiot, nobody's going to give me money. You have to be able to talk professionally to clients and understand what they're asking for. Chemistry is huge. The regular makeup artist girls, because I work in makeup trailers with a whole bunch of regular makeup artists, and then I'm the effects artist. And I come in and they're like, oh my God, how do you even figure this out? And I'm like, it's just chemistry. A plus B equals this. And then you can try this new chemical and this is what it does to this. So if you try it with this, it might work. And it's all that weird chemical. I'm one part engineer, one part artist. And it's knowing how to do fractions. And I mean, I can't tell you how many people I've had to teach. If you have a scale and you put something on it and you take it off, and then you put something else on it, you have to tear the scale because otherwise your measurements are off. Tearing the scale is very important. You can't just leave a container on there and expect it. It drives me nuts. Little things like that. Chemistry, and safety. If you're in chemistry class and they're giving you gloves and they're giving you respirators and they're giving you goggles and things like that, there's a reason for that. Acetone soaks into your skin and goes straight to your liver. There's a whole book on that called Artist Beware. That's also a very important book. Gloves, you're touching things, even if it's not going to hurt you, you're going to be all sticky and gross. And you have to just understand what chemicals are doing to people. And you're slapping it on people's skin and you're doing it day and day and day. And you need to know if it's safe. You need to know, how to handle it properly, how to store it properly so it doesn't cause issues as well. Chemistry is huge. Physics, gravity is an important thing. When blood goes up, it also goes down. If you're standing underneath a big blood fountain, you're going to get hit with it. Physics, important. We do animatronics, so computers and programming and things are really important. I have wired together all kinds of LED setups and different cable controls and RC motors, and I did a drill in a head with an RC motor and you have to know how to properly put it together. So yeah, it's everything.
So what you're saying is you might not need to go to necessarily a school to learn this, but you do need an education.
Education is so important. Yes, okay. So important. Stay in school, kids. But yeah, really, you need to have random knowledge. I'm the queen of, I'm on a film set, and people come to me with some surprisingly weird questions because I continually learn things. Once you're done with school, you're not done with school. It doesn't matter what you want to do with your career. If you want to be an effects artist, you're constantly reading, you're constantly researching. You're still in school. I study every day. Even if I'm on set, I'm studying, okay, well, that didn't work. Make a note of this, write it, make notes just like you do in class. When your teacher is teaching you how to, properly conjugate a verb, you're making notes. Well, when your effects artist person that you're working with is telling you how to properly sculpt something, you make notes, write your notes, do just like you're in school. Doesn't matter what job you're doing. You need to keep learning. You can't just stop.
All right. Real talk. One more question, then I want you to take us on a spin of the menagerie there.
Yeah.
How much money could somebody hope to make in the industry? Nothing right now, of course, but what's a good pay, a good pay scale, maybe starting pay? And, obviously you're looking for people, so interns, apprentices, things like that. So give us that information.
That's a really tricky question to answer because there are so many different levels of it. We do take on interns through our website, not currently, obviously, but and that will, they're unpaid internships because we're teaching you. You're learning things. You are learning on the job, and you are learning things that you will never learn anywhere else. And you can't read a book on how to act on set. You can, I guess, but it's not going to give you the actual element of somebody watching you going, don't you dare go talk to that person. That is above the line from where you are allowed to talk to them. You can't write a book about some of these things. So apprenticeship and internship is important in all of the fields. When you're doing production for directing and being a producer, they have what's called an AD, or not an AD, a PA, and it's a production assistant. They're a gopher. Their whole job is if you need something, you grab that PA and they go get it for you. And they're learning how everybody works, and they're learning what fields they like. You could go work on a film set as a PA and think, you know what? I really want to be a makeup artist. And then you go hang out with the craft services people who are the best people on earth. They feed us. Craft services is like a 7-Eleven on wheels, and go, oh my gosh, craft services. I didn't even know you could do that for film. And then they end up doing that. And it's kind of cool. So yeah, interning and PAing, you're the bottom end of the scale. And then it depends on how hard you want to work. I have the overhead of my studio, so I work a lot. But I can't, it's hard to put a number on it, honestly. And commercials pay you more than, there's a whole scale as well. If you're on like an indie film, you're getting paid less. You go up to a regular film or a TV show, and there's the high-end films and TV shows, and then there's commercials, and then there's photo shoots, and then there's events. So everything has a huge scale. You could get $0, you could get $2,000 for a day. It varies. And the thing about the feast and famine is, and it's really kind of rough when you're trying to get credit for cars and houses and stuff, is how much do you make a year? This year it's going to be a little interesting, but I was doing really well in January and February, and now I have no income whatsoever. So it's an interesting world in that sense. So it's hard to say what your salary would be. There's not really a number for that.
My wife does home loans, and she sometimes has to qualify actors, and it's really hard because they still have a pay stub, you know.
Mm-hmm.
All right, show us what you got. Let's just go for a while. Yeah.
Let me start you in the front. Don't look. All right. Let's see if I can turn the camera around. Yeah, I can. All right. Here's the front door. All right. It's actually pretty clean right now because we're not working. So we've got some of the heads over here from Machete, and some horns and things over here. Couch, very comfortable when you're waiting on things. This is a piece of set deck from Machete. We've got, this is a prosthetic and a scalp from, this is a TV series called The Sun, and that was there's a video game called Defiance that came out, and this was a video game teaser we did. And then various wigs and fun things there. This is 3D printing on fabric right here. So you can 3D print on fabric and it moves organically, which is really cool. Here's a severed head and a machete and some blood in a bucket. I'm not sure why that's there, but and then we've got body storage, number 1. We've got Winston the werewolf here. He's a werewolf puppet that we did for a film. And here are his paws. And you notice he's in multiple pieces because we didn't need a full werewolf. We needed paws and a head. People can't afford a full werewolf if they don't need to. So, fun fact. Let's see, here's Scalped a Dog. He was from a TV series called The Sun. He was buried alive and eaten by animals. So he had a rough day. And this is, what's his name? Jack. Another TV series with Buford the Bull hanging out next to him. This is Steve down here. Steve was an autopsy or a heart surgery victim. Didn't make it. Barbie was eaten by cannibals here. This is not for the weak if anybody's got a sensitive stomach. We've got Bert and Ernie up here, and decayed skeletons. And then this is the blood room. It's not as exciting as it sounds, but we do have our own bloodline that we manufacture and sell. So here's your chemistry right here. Didn't like the bloods on the market, so I made my own using chemical knowledge. Skin safe and everything like that. So an important room, but not particularly exciting. Also very important bathroom. You need those. And then we have break room, which got storage of DVDs, which is research, and the PlayStation, which is also research. Some people play video games on it. We play them for work. Some stainless steel wings and a skull sew. This was Intestine Man from Machete. So there's a shot where Machete slices him open, reaches in, see if I can get it, grabs the intestines and runs off down the hall. So this was actually the body for that, and it attaches to down here. Let's go to the other side, it's easier. These little guys right here attached to fire extinguishers, and they spray blood out of this little tubing rig down here. You see it? And it hoses blood like crazy as the intestines come flying out. It's a beautiful shot. We got some gremlin ears up there. This is, again, research. These are all random books that we go to very regularly. This is the sculpting area over there. I was starting a sculpt whenever we started this. We have Godzilla, lives on the ceiling. nowhere else to store a thunder lizard. We've got head molds right here, body storage up here, and then we've got more mold storage. These are wound molds. So something like this is you can see the little teeth right here. This is a torn out cheek prosthetic mold. And then power tools, more body storage. And then in here, this is our mold room. So we've got our foam latex ovens. That's one of them. There's the other one right here. You can see how we just stopped work and ran essentially a few weeks ago. This is some prosthetics that were in the process of being made. So this is another little cheek piece. And all the mold making supplies, tubing rigs. These are more prosthetics. You can see a whole bunch of ears and things that are pre-made pieces. And then this is wound storage over here. So gashes and things like that. That we have extra of, live there. This is costuming and more storage. You accumulate a lot of stuff. So this is where the sewing machines and the sergers live, makeup supplies, a whole wall of those, and then costume storage, wig storage, all kinds of things. And then this is our photo studio, which is going to be dark for a second. Hang on. Got this is makeup stations with our lit mirrors and everything. Steamer, fire extinguisher. Safety is very important. We've got production area. There's a bunch of equipment behind that curtain. Bay door for the photo studio. Its own bathroom. And then this is our big white shooting space. So we rent this out to productions, but we also use it for overflow workspace when we have to do big builds and things like that. So I'm gonna turn all these lights off and take you back to me. That's our studio. It's
That's
about 3,200 square foot of fun.
That is amazing. So hey guys, that's in Austin. That's here in town. So if you're interested in like working in this industry, you know, it's be a good place to go. Try to get an internship. You know, it's unpaid. It's apprentice. You're learning. Heck, I'd even like to try to do that, Meredith. That sounds like fun.
Come on.
Well, it's you know, the construction and things. I love doing that kind of stuff. I was looking at y'all's website and saw that y'all do a lot of like cosplay, a lot of like you do a lot of weapons, things like that. And those are for rent or for sale, yes?
Yeah, I'll show you. There's a weapon here. Hang on. I guess I breezed by that. So this is a foam weapon here. It's a nice long guy. Those tend to like live with the people that buy them. So we don't typically end up housing a bunch of those. Right. We typically make them for a client and they keep them. So we don't get to keep those most of the time, which is sad, but we've done a lot of cool builds that are weapons. They're fun.
So you worked on the Sun, which a friend of mine was in, Jay Quinn.
Oh,
Jackson.
okay.
You know Jay Quinn? He is. I can't try. He was in Hamilton. He was in Last Flag Flying. Richard Linklater likes him. And
what did he play? What character?
I'm not sure which character he played. I've never seen it. I just know he was in it. He didn't
die, then I probably didn't see him. I did a lot of killing on the Sun. Lots of Comanches and lots of killing. I was the effects artist for the Sun. So if he had a normal role, he may not have come into contact with me. But if he killed somebody or was killed by somebody, we probably hung out. So.
Okay, I'm going to open this up for questions from my students. I have a friend my friend Zach Morin, who's on here, but I'm going to hold off on his. I'm going to let my students ask questions if they want. and then I want you to cover those books that you talked about one more time, and then I'm going to
Sure.
stop the recording. And is it okay if I let my friend Zach stay on? And he does this. He like does creature stuff, and I just wanted him to have a chance to talk with you a little bit further. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Good deal.
I can send you links for the books and the
Okay,
standard.
cool. Yeah, and I'll put those on the lesson.
Sure.
AJ, Annie, Victor, or Ben, do y'all have any questions? You can unmute to ask if you want.
What kind of materials do you use usually for like making wounds and stuff?
For wounds and things, typically we'll do silicone. We do, actually there's several types. There's one that's an encapsulated silicone, which is where we use a bulb cap plastic and spray it into a mold and then pour the silicone. And those are amazing because you stick them on the skin and you take a little bit of 99% alcohol and it just disintegrates and disappears, and they look flawless on HD and in camera. We also do another type called a Prosaid transfer, and it's a prosthetic that's actually made entirely of adhesive. And that is the strongest, most durable prosthetic you will ever find on the market. So when we did Machete and it was 120 degrees outside and we were on a black tarmac, that was the only prosthetic that would actually survive in the heat. So those are really cool because they go on, you know, the tattoos where you get the piece of white paper wet? You actually stick it on and it has that white piece of paper and you get it wet for 30 seconds and take it off and it's like a 3D tattoo. Those are really cool too. And then we do occasionally do latex prosthetics for creatures and like full face prosthetics for like monsters and zombies and things. We'll do a lot of foam latex pieces because they're very lightweight and they're very inexpensive. So
I think Annie wants to do this. This is the job. Isn't that right, Annie?
Yeah, I do some amateur stuff at home already.
Oh, cool.
Well, maybe you need to contact Meredith on her email that I'll put on our lesson and see if you could intern.
Nice. I already follow you on Instagram. I checked it out before I joined the Zoom, and that's really cool.
Thank you.
Very cool. AJ, you had a question. Go.
So do you need a cosmetology license to do SFX makeup, or is it just like you operate on your own? Like, I don't know.
You don't actually in the state of Texas. You need a cosmetology license to cut and color hair. You do not need it for regular makeup. You do not need it for effects makeup. We do have people that work for us that do the cutting and coloring when we do like creature builds that need that, which happens a lot. Zombies don't come with perfect hair. And when we do like hag creatures and monsters and things, people that are able to cut and color become very, very important. So yes, you don't need a license for effects makeup.
Awesome. Victor, Ben, y'all have any questions?
Anyone?
I guess not. All right. Well, I'm going to stop the recording. Austin, hi kids. Y'all can take off, and now you'll be able to answer the questions pretty easily. I'll also put those links to those books in the lesson. But you paid attention and all that good stuff like that. And so I'm going to stop the recording, and then I'm going to let my friend Zach talk to Meredith for a little bit. So off we go here. We're stopping the recording.